Well, back in Singapore, despite the economic uncertainties brought on by COVID-19, more employers have been tapping PCPs or professional conversion programs to reskill mid-career new hires or prepare current employees for new roles.
Workforce Singapore said that more than 900 companies took part in these programs in the first half of 2020, up about 13%. That's resulted in more than 2,600 mid-career individuals benefiting, about 20% more than the first half of 2019.
Now, the increase was mainly due to more people taking up redeployment PCPs for new or enhanced roles in their existing organization. Joining us to discuss this is Manpower correspondent Joanna Seow. Now, Joanna, over 2,600 mid-careerists benefited in the first half of the year, but how possible is it for people to make a career switch in this COVID-19 time? Do you see the numbers rising or falling for the remainder of the year?
Thanks, Ollie and Yen. Well, the numbers appear to show that it is possible, since the number of employers taking part, as well as the workers who benefited, both went up this year. There's two sides to this, because employers could be wary of hiring anyone new, even though the PCP subsidized wages or training allowances during the training period. But at the same time, if they do have room to expand, they are actually getting more trained workers at a kind of like a subsidized cost for a period. So the figures in this story actually cover three types of programs, which include redeployment PCPs and place and train PCPs, both of which put the participant into a new job. There are also attach and train PCPs, which provide a work attachment but don't guarantee a job at the end. So we could see more people being reskilled through the attach and train format, rather than direct job placements, since companies are facing such an uncertain hiring outlook at this time. And it's quite interesting because last year, actually, the number of people placed in new roles through PCPs actually fell. But this year, the PCPs and other reskilling programs are a big part of the government's push to provide work and training opportunities for the thousands of job seekers that will be impacted by the pandemic. So hopefully we'll see more placements this year.
Joanna, on that note, then, what is the general mindset of the mid-careerist? What should he or she be prepared for when making a successful transition?
Okay, well, mid-career workers could be at a range of ages and life stages. So I think the easiest time to switch careers would probably be fresh out of school or in the early years of a job, because like maybe you studied something that you don't think is going to lead anywhere and you want to try a different career path. It gets harder for middle-aged people, so say those between 40 to 60. They tend to have heavy financial commitments, such as their mortgage payments, maybe supporting their children's education, as well as elderly parents. And this group has been a big focus of the government's policy efforts this year, with lots of extra help rolled out in the multiple budgets. So usually they're in more senior positions in their jobs, so moving into a new industry or a different role would probably mean they have to take maybe a pay cut if they are moving into an entry-level job. So some of the experts that I talked to said that it's important to be realistic about this, and also keep an open mind.
Moving on to a separate topic, the National Wages Council will meet for a second time this year. Now, this is considered a rather rare move because it usually convenes just once a year. And back on March 30th, it released its recommendations, which many employers took a cue from to manage excess manpower. So, Joanna, what do you think will be discussed this time when the NWC reconvenes?
Well, definitely the worsening situation in the labour market. So last week, the preliminary estimates for the second quarter of this year, which is from April to June, show that unemployment and retrenchment had spiked compared with the first quarter. And this is only the fourth time ever that the council is reconvening in the same year. So the previous times were all in economic crises: 2009, which was the global financial crisis, 2001 after the 9/11 attacks, and also 1998 amid the Asian financial crisis. And back in 1998, the council actually gave a quantum amount for wage cuts. So it recommended that in addition to a cut to employers' CPF contributions, which made up about 8% of overall wages, it said that total wages for 1998 should be cut by about 5 to 8% as compared to 1997. And this year, actually, in March, when they met, the council had considered whether to recommend reducing the CPF contribution rates for employers to cut wage costs. But then PermSec for Manpower, or Beckham, had said that because of the job support scheme wage subsidies, they far exceed the employer CPF contribution rates, which are up to 17%. So that's why the government felt that it was not needed. I mean, a cut to the rate was not needed at that time. And well, I guess looking forward, I spoke with Mr. Zainal Supari earlier. He was one of NTUC's Assistant Secretaries General, and he often speaks up for low-wage workers. So he was telling me that he hopes that the council will continue to push for wage increases for low-wage workers even amid the pandemic, because many of the salaries of these low-wage essential workers are still in the bottom 10th percentile.
Right. Well, that was Joanna Seow, Manpower correspondent for the Straits Times. Joanna, thank you so much for coming on the show.